this episode of Renewables and Things, we sit down with energy risk associate Anthony Gallucci, who spent his entire career working at some of California's highest producing solar companies in various sales, lead gen, and management roles. He now leads the Renewables division at Poms and Associates, an insurance brokerage, advising solar companies on how to manage risk and hedge for the long term. We discuss everything from solar industry volatility, solar sales and lead generation, to market and regulatory risk factors solar companies face in 2019 and how to address. Hope you guys get some value out of it. Thanks a lot.
So I go from the largest solar company, Solar City, then I go to a smaller solar company, Smart Energy Solar, as director over there. And we sold 288 accounts in our first quarter. But again, everyone was on salary, and unfortunately, it became the overhead just was tough. And that's typically what happens when you scale a program, especially with salaries. The key is finding the right people. So our teams have always done really well, but the problem is when you scale a global program, it's just tough. So
interesting. So how big was your service area for that second company? What was it called? What are they called?
For Smart Energy Solar, they were based in Corona. That's where the installer is located. I covered Sacramento, Stockton, San Jose, San Francisco, basically the whole Bay Area. So when I was hired, it was crazy timing. Solar City just got bought by Tesla. We had mass layoffs. So I was really blessed. My team's always been super solid. We work really well together. And so I was able to captivate that audience, recruit a lot of solid guys, and really drive sales. But again, when you take a smaller company and you sell 288 accounts, it's hard from an operational standpoint to maintain that, and then also from a cost perspective to maintain that. And I think that's why you see a lot of companies gravitating towards search engine optimization and kind of more online tools to really strategically canvas and generate leads versus just hiring bodies because it's super risky because if they don't deliver the metrics that you need to be profitable, then ultimately you're at risk. And like I said earlier, that's why I think a lot of companies are leveraging 1099. It's a safer model, but on the risk management side of things, it's also super risky, especially in California, because misclassifying 1099 employees, could be a super serious offense.
Interesting. So they pretty much were serviced the entire state, it sounded like, and then they pretty much had door knockers canvassing the entire state. Is that accurate, or how did the actual sales process work on the ground?
Okay, so at Solar City, it's 100% self-generated. So at Solar City, people have salaries. You generate your own leads. You're paying for a mall kiosk. You're standing in the mall kiosk. You're talking to customers as they walk by. Whoa. You're pulling them in. You're scheduling an appointment. You're running the appointment, closing it. So that was the Solar City model. At Smart Energy Solar, they actually did purchase leads. However, all of the consultants were salaried, and the cost was just extremely high. The most successful companies I've seen kind of do a mix of both, and some actually just really leverage top talent. You stick with the top talent consultants, and then you leverage a search engine, SEO, and online marketing to generate those leads. It's all about your cost and keeping that low and finding the right talent based on my experience.
Totally. So how did you get into solar? Like, where did you come from before that?
Nowhere. I was a student at San Jose State and graduated, started applying for jobs, came across Solar City, got bought into the vision. And when I got my offer letter, it was a $30K base lead generator standing in Home Depot, Best Buy. And I remember my family saying, "Man, you have a business management degree. Why don't you work for Adobe, apply for Facebook? You're in the Silicon Valley, right?" So the first 2 weeks, I was like, what am I doing? But I was really sold on the vision and the opportunity. I saw where solar was headed, and I really believed in it. And I think that's what helped made me be successful is, I had this conviction that if I don't contact every single customer that walks by, that is a disservice to them, because I have something I actually believe in that could help them. So the worst thing I could do is not talk to them. And so when I started the first 2 weeks, I had, like a lot of doubt, and it's 98% mental lead generation. The hardest part is staying positive and keeping your head above the water. And it's about creating a culture that's very positive. And yeah, man. So that's kind of how I started. But I had a lot of incredible mentors. I was really fortunate to work with people who were extremely talented. And I didn't have the experience that they did, but I was able to produce at the same level, or actually a higher level. After my first month, I was the top lead generator in the company, simply because, I started my day with gratitude, and I just contacted more people. So there's people with, 40% more experience. They've been there several years. I didn't have the experience, but I was able to produce at a higher level because you have full control over one thing, and that's the amount of contacts you have. And the two things that drive sales, it's activities, it's your activity level, and then your skill level. So, the faster you fail, the quicker you can learn, especially with lead generation. It's really not that hard. I mean, people are going to purchase power either way. So it's not a matter of interest, it's a matter of choice, right? So yeah, it's really simple. Unfortunately, without seeing the numbers, what you're currently spending, what your new bill would be, and getting all of your concerns answered and getting all that information, I don't think you'll be in a position to make an educated decision. My job's really simple. I do about 10 to 15 appointments per week. I'll come out, show you what you're currently spending, what your new bill will be, and answer all your questions. How's Saturday look at 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
And, I think that if you say, no, I'm not interested, I'll say, well, unfortunately, Doug, without seeing the numbers, I don't think you'll be able to make that educated decision. But what I found is customers are going to purchase power either way. And everyone I have been able to talk to has been really surprised with what we're able to do. So I'd love to just have that opportunity to talk. It's real quick. It's 25, 30 minutes. I'll sit with you and your family, answer all your questions, explain how you're currently billed, just so that way you could have the information to make an educated decision. Does that sound fair? Awesome.
Sounds like you've done this before.
And then, you just fill it out. And it's just, that was a little rusty. I haven't been a lead generator in 2014, but I mean, it's fun, man. It's all about having fun. Like, people take life way too seriously. If you're just real with people, especially in the B2C marketplace, they connect with you. They ask you a question, you don't know the answer. That's a great question, Doug. I'm going to write that down. Since that's something you're interested in, I'll make sure we review that during the consultation. Does that sound fair? If you say no, it's like, well, unfortunately, Doug, I can't help you with your concerns. And I'm not sure how we'll be able to assist with helping you in the decision-making process, right? You point everything to the consultation. Solar is essentially a pizza. You let them smell it. If you have to, you can pull a slice out, let them take one bite, give them as little of the pizza as possible, and, be very respectful. That way, during the consultation, when you go, or if someone else goes, they can deliver the pie and they can feast. But it's true. I mean, without seeing the numbers, how could you make an educated decision? Only 2% of homeowners have solar on their homes, and the majority of people, especially in California, haven't had a solar quote. So the question is, how can you say no to something without seeing the numbers? How can you say no to something without talking to someone that's a professional in the industry about all your legit concerns? These are legit concerns. Like, I don't want my roof to leak, right? There's so many objections that are out there. But if you just simply educate customers, there's really no reason. If we're unable to have that consultation and answer all their concerns and questions, we're not able to help them. You don't have to be pushy. You're just giving them what they want. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun, man.
So going back, because I just love the fact that you're out there grinding in the stores, just walking up cold approach to people. Because that for me, I used to do, would hop on the phones too to like try to get donations for the university. That was like my job in school. You'd call up random alumni and try to get them to donate. And that is so hard to do. You know what I mean? That skill in and of itself is like just striking up a conversation, trying to build rapport, make it seem like you're trustworthy and have value to communicate. So I feel like looking back, in terms of developing a skill set right out of college, that's probably, the best skill set you could have been forced to learn. You know what I mean? Would you agree with that? Or like looking back?
I mean, I was really fortunate again to have such an incredible team and surround myself with people that were better than me. And man, there's so many mentors I could list that I've had the opportunity to work with, but it's all a mental battle. I mean, people think that it's their skill set that's holding them back. It's not a lack of skill. It's not a lack of ability. It's a lack of mental strength and positivity. I think you could say something, but if you're not smiling, if you don't have the right energy, people will not listen. And so it's really not what you say. It's about being positive. Like if I'm super stoked, if I just won $1 million and I hit you up and called you, you would feel my energy through the phone and you'd want to at least listen to what I have to say, right? The same situation, if I'm depressed, I wake up, I hate my job, and I say the same exact news, you're going to be like, are you okay? Even though I said the same exact thing. So
sure.
It's really 98% mental. I really believe that. And the key is, you're going to get beat up. You'll make 100 calls. You'll talk to 100 customers and get nothing. But as long as you don't give up, you're going to win. And it's really that simple. So, it's like, I think what helped me a lot is I have a lot to be grateful for. And I've set goals and I share those goals with people I talk with. And they're not even buying solar. They're going to purchase power either way. It's just about connecting and building relationships. That's all it is. A lot of people think it's hard. I actually love it. Like you and I haven't even met face to face, and I reached out to you on LinkedIn, and now we're doing a podcast. It's pretty cool, right?
Totally.
So I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
So tell us about where you are now. What are you doing now, and what led you there? I love hearing about your journey here.
It's been insane, man. It's been quite the career journey. So I was with Solar City, then I went to Smart Energy Solar. So I got, I was being very successful, but the industry was very volatile.
In what ways?
And so when Smart Energy Solar shut down, I actually got approached by Vivint Inc., which is the smart home side of the business, with the Best Buy program. So I was hired as a district manager for this new program, and I covered all of Southern California because my wife and I, one of our goals was to buy a home, start a family, which we were able to do with this opportunity. We moved SoCal, we bought a home in Newbury Park, completely remodeled it.
Wow.
We just had our son Luca this past December. So it was a good opportunity. Retail as a whole is extremely difficult. Our team, we did win a trip to Mexico. It was great. We scaled the program across the U.S. with Best Buy, and it no longer exists. So that program shut down. So after being in sales for all these years, it made me think, and having a kid made me think, and being a dad really, puts life into perspective. And so insurance, commercial insurance, I'm a solar influencer, I guess you could call it. I'm part of CALSA, I'm a member there. I'm going to be at the solar lobby towards the end of this month to promote and extend the ITC solar tax credit, which we really rely on.
What's the solar
lobby? And now I have the opportunity to contact businesses in the energy space and help them with their commercial insurance and risk management. And it's fun because I've been part of that industry for over 7 years, and now I'm still part of it. I'm just on the insurance side of the business. And the reason I chose it, even though it's so much different, is because it's never going to go away. plus for my family and I, it's great to make huge checks in the solar industry on the sales side. But at the end of the day, the next month you're back to zero. So there was a lot of benefits. So it's been a journey.
What is this solar lobbying? Can you tell me more about that?
You're part of it? CALSA is the California Solar and Storage Association. There's 500 companies that are part of it. They make up for 80% of all solar installations in the state of California. And what else? I don't know. I mean, really, it's essentially it's the largest group within California and the solar industry as a whole, and it has a significant source of influence over our industry and the success long term. And it's such a volatile industry that we have to be a part of something bigger to ensure that it's going to be around, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. It's highly, there's a lot of outside influences driving our industry. It's extremely volatile. You see the largest solar company in the US essentially go out of business. Tesla owns them. And Tesla is actually 100% e-commerce now. So talk about the leading solar company in the US decides to lay off all their employees, and now they're 100% e-commerce, right? And, love him or hate him, Elon Musk is a genius, and he has a lot of unique ideas. So I think that says something too, the fact that the industry is heading more e-commerce. There's just no regulations in solar. So that's what I've found. Because of my experience in the industry and now being part on the insurance side, there's very little regulation, and there's tons of risk exposure. And so, just think about system monitoring. All these companies offer performance guarantees. They're using customers' Wi-Fi to monitor these systems. And most of them don't have cybersecurity policies. So if their system gets hacked, think about homes nowadays with Wi-Fi. You can unlock doors, you could adjust the thermostat in most homes. You could get access to all their information, bank info. A lot of these people do direct deposits, all these customers. So, it's important to make sure you're set up for long-term success, because it's not a matter of if, a claim will happen eventually. Cybersecurity is a huge issue, especially as we gravitate towards more e-commerce as a whole in the industry. So that's a huge one that I found a massive gap in coverage. Another one is just these PPA and lease contracts. The PPA and lease was created in 2007. Typically, they're 20-year contracts. So we're looking at about 5 years left until these contracts expire. So most solar companies have coverage during the term when the system's on the roof. The question is, what coverage do you have after you remove the system? What if the customer experiences a leak 8 months after the system's removed? And this is the solar company's property. It's not the customer's property. And the question is, how are you protecting yourself long term? So I created what's called solar risk mitigation assessments. And they're very unique questions that are geared toward our industry because of my experience. And there's a lot of brokers that are a lot smarter than me, have a lot more experience than I do on the insurance side. I'm still learning. But our value proposition here at Poms is I have over 7 years experience. I've been essentially in every role on the sales side. I've worked closely with operations. I understand these contracts. And our team here has 25 years experience on the commercial end. So that's really the value proposition you're getting. It's not about insurance. It's not about getting the lowest premium. It's about protecting your business for the long term so you could be successful. Because it really only takes one claim. One claim of something that's not covered could literally derail your entire business. It's pretty crazy. It's exciting. That's why I'm part of CALSA, because I'm able to be a high level influence and meet a lot of people in the industry. So it's exciting.
So what do you think, what are some example claims that have been, just the end game for some of these solar companies? Can you list some examples, or like maybe common examples?
Yeah. There was a company, I actually did a post on LinkedIn. If I can find it. I mean, there's been a lot, man, to be honest.
Is there a pattern anywhere that you see? Or is it pretty scattered?
Well, there's OSHA requirements that a lot of companies definitely don't follow. There's laws, there's regulations. There's 1099 versus W-2, which is massive, especially in California. You see all these companies hiring these 1099s, and I talk to them, and they don't carry insurance for them because they're not employees, right? So let's say a 1099 is in a customer's home. They're supposed to carry their own insurance. They're not an employee. But if they don't, a lot of these companies treat them as employees. So what's going to happen is, imagine a consultant goes in a customer's home and, bumps into a painting and it breaks, or, falls. They go on the roof because they want to check it out. They fall and, break their neck, whatever. You'd be surprised, man. Stuff happens all the time. What's going to happen is the solar company that is using this 1099 is going to say, oh, they're not an employee. They're an independent contractor, right? They're supposed to carry their own insurance. They're self-insured. We have no risk. And they do that because they don't have to pay premium on them. What's going to happen is you break your neck, you're 1099, you work for this company, you have a business card with the company's name on it, you have sales trainings, you have quotas. I mean, there's a lot of big solar companies that utilize this, especially with summer sales programs. And in their agreements, there's a lot of legalese that will attempt to protect them. But in California, it's extremely dangerous. And there's this big Dynamex case in the state of California. It was this trucking company that essentially had all their drivers W-2. They laid them all off, rehired them 1099. And there was a big lawsuit. And the judge determined that they misclassified their employees. And they actually had to go and back pay all of them and pay penalties and fines. Whereas if they just properly classified them to begin with, they would have avoided the headache and legal aspects. And in fact, all it takes is that one claim where you're not covered and you're screwed. Imagine you're a business driving $500,000 in revenue. You're a small business. You're making great money. You get a claim for $3 million because someone broke their neck. And you're saying, oh, they're 1099. It's going to be your word against theirs. In the state of California, independent contractors have a massive edge. They actually can't be part of your primary source of business. If you're in the solar business, so the Dynamex state case established the ABC test. So I actually have this article here. The Supreme Court adopted a 3-pronged test called the ABC test. The court ruled a worker is properly considered an independent contractor to whom a wage order does not apply only if the hiring entity establishes the 3 following criteria. So A, the worker is free from the control and direction of the hiring entity in connection with the performance of the work, both under the contract for the performance of such work and in fact. So free from the control and direction of the hiring entity. So what does that mean? It means you can't tell your independent contractor what to do, and you can't manage them because they're not your employee. B, the worker performs work that is outside the usual course of the hiring entity's business. Does your 1099 solar salesperson perform work that is outside of the usual course of business? Are your 1099 independent contractors part of your primary source of business? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to have to say yes. But, I'm not a legal expert. I'm just a solar guy who's new to insurance. So, I'd love to talk to you about that. And C, the worker is customarily engaged in an independently established trade, occupation, or business. The worker should be considered an employee and the hiree business and employer. So it's called the ABC test. You could Google it, type in 1099 versus W-2 ABC test. This is the Supreme Court ruling. It's a huge deal. So it's better to properly classify your 1099 and employees. And it's also better to properly have insurance based off your risk exposure. That's the whole point. It's not about having the lowest premium. This isn't about, it's not like you're having car insurance. Oh, I need 300,000 coverage, right? It's not like that. We're talking things that aren't covered that your business has exposure to. And the only way to do that is through the solar risk mitigation assessment. And so that's what I'm doing.
Cool.
I just got back from San Diego with a fairly large solar company that I'm working with, and I have several others. So it's exciting. My entire career is the energy industry, and this is what I do. So
that's such a cool transition. I have a question. Yeah. So do you think the same? Well, first off, what were some of these factors that made the solar industry so volatile in your eyes? And, building upon that, do you still think it's exposed to that same volatility? Do you think it's better or worse? What's the source of all this?
It's a great question. I mean, I think it's similar to the mortgage industry, prior to the market crashing. How much money do you make? Oh, I make $300,000. Oh, what do you do? I sell stuff online. Okay, great. You're approved for $1 million home. Here you go. Right? And there was no regulation. Like, legit, you could graduate high school and buy a $600,000 home. Well, back then, that's a lot of homes, especially in California, even though it's a lot more expensive than the rest of the world. But in California, that's cheap. Well, at least nowadays, that's cheap. Yeah. Depends where you live. There was no regulation, right? So what happened is the market crashed because of that. Well, in solar, it's a little different. You look at any established industry, right? Real estate, construction, you have permitting, you have processes, you have safety programs in place. In solar, it's highly unregulated. It's the wild, wild west. And if you read reviews online, they're terrible because there's no standard across the board. And it's really unfortunate because we offer such an incredible product that really helps people. And to answer your question, I think that's being developed quickly. We're in a phase where solar is becoming more and more popular. We're at 2% market penetration across the entire U.S. That number is increasing rapidly. It's just extremely volatile. There's 30% tax credit, which is scheduled to go down by 4% next year. The year after that, down from 30% to 20%, 10% decrease. The year after that, 0% on residential and 10% on commercial. So it's highly, that's obviously a huge factor. I think companies will be fine whether it goes away or not, but it's an extra 30% of value add. So it's just highly unregulated. And it's a great question. Why is it highly unregulated? I mean, I'm not a policy expert or anything like that, but I've been part of it. And I've seen it with the largest solar company in the U.S. To the smallest. And I see it honestly with everyone I talk to. Essentially, there's a lot of incredible businesses out there who, operate by the book. But the fact is, are you fully aware of all the OSHA requirements? Have you read them all? Are you familiar with them? Do you know what they are? Are you ready for next year, 2020? Have you read the 325-page document that summarizes the new building codes? Are you familiar with the 6 exceptions? So I'm talking to builders a lot. I'm scheduling meetings with them to add value. My whole job is really just to add value. And, if I'm able to do that in return, I ask for the business. If not, then at least they leave with a couple ideas that, can benefit them. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of good golden nuggets in there.
So, Doug, what are you finding with lead generation and kind of the e-commerce market with solar?
Well, that's interesting. You bring up the e-commerce side. That's kind of new to me. I didn't realize there was such a transition. But for the lead generation side, I mean, I'd like to have you actually elaborate more on what you see on the e-commerce side. But really, you see so many companies who, rather than investing in their own, assets to generate themselves leads, they're taking that marketing budget and, primarily buying all these third-party leads, which makes sense. They work. I see them in my clients' appointment calendars. They're getting appointments off these third-party leads, but we're really trying to help them position it as, invest in your own systems that you own, control, and manage. And furthermore, help build that brand equity over time. Because like you said, the experience can be kind of weird for these homeowners on the other line. They submit their information to kind of this own pseudo brand on Facebook. See how you can get zero money down on solar. They submit their information. All of a sudden, they have 5 different solar companies, calling them back. I'm like, wait, I thought I was just learning about zero down. So that's just one example. Obviously, everyone, we're all about diversification, trying to recommend our clients. The same thing like you, just trying to provide value, really ramp it up so they have their lead generation systems set up to automate. So they're getting daily, residential and commercial solar leads all on their own budgets, all on their own systems. So they don't have to rely on a third-party vendor for who knows, what could happen if they get wiped out by a Google penalty. Their ad accounts get banned. All of a sudden, you just don't have control over your own destiny. So, not saying third-party leads don't work. Certainly they do. We're just all about diversification. But yeah.
No, that's good, man. Yeah, it's like you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Totally. I know from your risk standpoint. But yeah.
That's good stuff. Yeah, it's exciting. The industry as a whole is pretty exciting. I think. It's really about, at the end of the day, it's about doing what's best for your business. And, one of my old mentors told me that comfort is the enemy of growth. But I think a lot of these companies that have been around for, over the years, they get comfortable with the way they do business. And I think that's more than anything, the biggest risk in the industry is you got to adapt. And you have to adapt to your customer, you have to adapt to your employees, everything else that's out there. So I think what you're doing with search engine optimization, with all of your platforms, are definitely aligned with the future. And I don't see why anyone wouldn't consider it. I mean, what have been your biggest objections as far as why people don't utilize online tools?
That's a super good question. For the commercial solar guys, they're so still set on canvassing with phones, and so we've had a couple who did want to take the leap with us, seen incredible results. I think they closed just under $1 million in new revenue, just when we decided to target one specific niche in industry that they've already had a good footing with. So we went to them and said, hey, where have you had really good success? What customers have you had really good testimonials from that we could talk about? And they said churches. Yeah. We've done a lot of churches. So we said, okay, let's put together some testimonial videos all about churches. Let's put together some case studies that we can get in front of these guys. And it ended up being a really, insane campaign because you can start to speak the language to these pastors, these church administrators, because you have so many case studies and examples that fit, that tell the same story that they're experiencing and how they are able to save all this money for the churches. So really the actual channels and strategy to do this can be replicated across any industry. It's just taking these basic, marketing principles of, defining your audience, developing relevant marketing collateral to speak to them. And then all of a sudden your ad costs are that much lower, your cost per lead is that much lower because your copy and your offer resonates that much more compared to versus blasting out a super wide blanket. So that's just one example on the B2B side that we're really excited with. For the residential side, the same principles, just communicating credibility, trust, having those customer testimonial videos. And that's why our campaigns are so successful, because we're leveraging these branded assets, because we're leveraging all this trust that these solar companies have built over the years, doing great service for those customers. All we're doing is just getting in front of a target audience and having the right systems in place so when the lead comes through, they're able to automate, the follow-up, the appointment, all of that. So these customers are, booking appointments in their own time. But nothing too revolutionary, just, basic marketing principles. But objections has just been, how do I know this is going to work? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's also like you got to make yourself known, right? You can only sell to people that are aware of who you are and what you do.
Totally.
And I think at the end of the day, you can only knock on so many doors. You can only make so many calls. And so you're essentially preparing the beach for all the consultants, whether they're inside door-to-door or retail or whatever they are. It almost sounds like you're preparing the battleground so that way when they do call and they do go in, it's more strategic. It's strategic prospecting. You're not just going there, on the beach with a machine gun with no coverage. You know what that beach is going to look like. You're preparing that beach, and your customers are now aware of what that beach looks like. So that way, when you show up, it's not all foreign soil. It's kind of sounds like that's kind of the competitive advantage. I mean, if I had something like that at Solar City, I was already working for the largest provider, so most people knew who we were. But for a lot of these smaller companies like Smart Energy Solar, that people have no idea. But I think with educating them, the thing that I found, companies like Sunrun, Vivint, all these providers out there, the majority of them, they don't even make panels or inverters. They're just reselling them. Whether you're commercial, residential, that's the case 9 times out of 10. There's a lot of great companies that do make their own products, like SunPower, but typically that's tailored toward a certain audience, and the price per watt is significantly higher. So all these major providers and installers are selling product that they don't make, right? So you're getting the same product, whether you're a small company or a big company. So it's really about making yourself known, and then having the ability to sit with the customer and educate them and answer all their questions. And that's how you get more sales. So you're doing that, with your online tools, and especially the reviews. I mean, dude, people Google everything. It's like, oh, you have bad reviews, I'm not going to talk to you. So they'll just can you right away.
Totally. And it's 2019. There's so many ways to automate, whether it be review generation, whether it be brand exposure, lead generation. We tell our clients, don't stop the door knocking by all means. Like, if it's working, keep it going. Again, we're just here to help diversify. Yeah. Just diversify so these leads come to you.
And there's no shortcut for hard work. It's called strategic prospecting. We did this at Solar City all the time, right? If I have a site survey, I sell a customer, I should show up to that site survey. Number one, to continue my relationship and develop it. And then number two, the opportunity to talk 5 doors to the left, 5 doors to the right.
Oh, yeah.
Take 10 minutes, I introduce myself. Boom. Strategic.
Well, yeah, that's
not strategic. I'm just going to go door knock. I'm just going to show up and I'm just going to knock doors. That's not strategic. But there's no substitute for hard work. You improve your skill through failure. The key is keeping your activity levels high, so that's the other thing too. A lot of these smaller businesses, I think, especially experienced people, they tend to avoid the fact of hard work, and they just want results, especially individual producers. They're always going to gravitate towards, minimum work, maximum efficiency. How can I do that? So like, I saw people in the mall, they wouldn't talk to people if, this sounds crazy, if they weren't wearing a wedding ring. They're like, oh, they probably just rent. Or if they look, me, I talk to everyone because I was limited to who walks by that kiosk. I don't care who they are, I'm talking to them. Unless multiple people, I know I can't hit them all, then sure, I might go after, the husband and wife with the stroller and the 2 kids, compared to, someone who's wearing a San Jose State sweatshirt walking by himself. But to flip that, I'm going to talk to everyone I can. So it's important to be strategic, but it's also important to make sure, more important than strategy, is having your activity levels the highest possible. That's how I was able to be a top producer. It's not because I was more strategic. It's not because I was more skillful. It's because I was able to be fully in control of my activity levels and increase it. But as I developed my skill and became better, you saw my conversion ratios increase and my sales continually increased. And then I got promoted. Then I was able to share that with the team I worked with, which helped me be really successful. So in the same way, you're essentially doing that by analyzing the business, looking at reviews, all of the online tools that you provide. You're essentially doing the same thing. You're making them more known, brand awareness, reviews, all those things, especially in 2019. Yeah. It's like, come on, you have to have it. And if you don't, you should, because it's just going to increase your presence, increase your business.
And it saves you money. Your reps having to spend less time following up with cold leads. There's all kinds of ways to re-engage your existing customer list for referrals, for kind of stale prospects list. Just so many ways to automate it. But like you said, it just comes down to the work and putting the time to test things too. That's the other thing. As a business owner, you learn that some investments are going to work out and some aren't. You have to do your due diligence to weed out the BS, but make these strategic investments so you can shortcut that growth. That's something that's been paramount to our business. And when I speak to some of these other solar business owners where our fee, is so modest relative to the return that we're generating, and it just baffles me how risk adverse some of these business owners are. It's understood to one degree, like you said, that the market's that much more competitive, margins are lower, they're going to be a lot more risk adverse of taking kind of these investments, but that's just kind of the mentality you have to have as an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? You have to learn how to take risk and just kind of... It's
not even an investment. It's setting yourself up for failure. It's like if you're a business and your job is to drive sales and get installs, the question is, what is your current strategy? And the question is, can we add value to make it better? And if we can't, then we can't help them. But if we can, then why wouldn't they do it? If your goal is to drive revenue and get more installs, then let's see how we can do that most effectively. And if you're on that path, then high five. Like, let's add value to what you're doing, whether we do business together or not. That's totally cool. I just want to have the opportunity to see if we can help. And it's all about adding value. Whatever you're selling in life, whatever you're doing, lead generation, online, insurance, whatever, it's not about what you have to offer. It's about how can you help your customer with what their concerns are, and be confident. If your product doesn't achieve their objections, if your product doesn't achieve their concerns, your product doesn't help what they want, then it's not for them. You're doing a huge disservice to sell it. That's why I love solar so much. Because whether they go solar or not, you're going to purchase power either way. I have friends that sell cars, other products that are out there, and sometimes they don't need it. But guess what? If I sell you that bigger car, I'm going to get a higher paycheck. That's best for me and my family. I'm going to sell you the SUV. I'm not going to sell you on a tiny used car, right? So it's all about doing what's best for your customer. If you do that, you're not selling anything. You're just giving them what they want. And that's the mentality we need to have. Any successful business, no matter what you're doing, why would you say no to what you want? And if they do, it's like, well, Doug, I can't help you with your concerns. So I don't think we can do business together. If you're not interested, that's totally okay. And that's kind of the takeaway approach. It's not being salesy. It's like, dude, I'm legitly thirsty. And you're like, well, I have water. You can drink it, and it will quench your thirst. Oh no, I don't think I'm interested. I have this well. We dug it over the past several years, and I have employees that are pulling the string with the bucket to bring the water up, and I'm getting it and I'm drinking it, and it's like, you have this new innovative tool, because wells are kind of outdated, even though they work great. We should always use wells; they're incredible. If you have a new tool that can help that business, if they're not interested in it, if they have concerns, those concerns are valid. Put yourself in their shoes. They've been doing business a certain way for a long time. That's legit. Don't try to influence them to do business a different way. Meet them where they're at and just use their objections as a reason to do business with you, right? Totally. So you do that with customers all the time. Like in solar, if a customer is like, I love all this, Anthony, but I'm really concerned about my roof leaking. So like, people try to use the feel, felt, found. That's really popular. Inexperienced salespeople will try to show them why they're wrong. But if you just agree and meet them where they're at and just have some humility, like, Doug, I totally agree. It's a huge concern, your roof leaking, and I wouldn't go solar either. Like, what could you say to that? So, Doug, if your roof were to leak, do you currently have an insurance policy that protects you against damage? And then they're probably going to say, no. So if your roof were to leak, what would happen? You'd be self-insured, right? Yes. Okay, now here's where I apply the product to their concern. So if the way the process works, after we get the credit approved and DocuSign the agreement, is we'll schedule a site survey where our crew will actually go on your roof, take measurements, and inspect the attic to verify it's structurally sound for solar. If it's a 20-year agreement, that's going to be for the next 20 years, whatever. Every company has different warranties. And it actually has a roof penetration warranty over the next 10 years. So that way, if your roof does leak, you're going to be fully covered during that 10-year period. So since that's a legit concern of yours, it's going to make sense to have this coverage rather than not. Does that make sense?
I love that. That's awesome.
And now all of a sudden, I mean, was that salesy? I guess you could call it salesy, but I'm just giving you what you asked for. And if you say no, it's like, well, Doug, unfortunately, I don't know if I can help with your concern of your roof leaking. And I'd love to do business together, but, and if I'm not in a position where I'm able to address all your concerns, I don't know how I can help. And that's the level of confidence we should have. You should write every single objection. Why are my customers not buying, whatever it is? List them all out. Every single one. It's too expensive. I don't want to be stuck in a contract. My roof's going to leak. The solar's ugly. Every single objection. List them all, right? Sit with someone that you highly respect in your industry and say, Doug, I need help. How do you overcome this objection? Because if you don't sell something you believe in, then you're literally being a salesperson. You're selling something you don't believe in. If you don't believe it's going to genuinely benefit the customer, why would you sell it? That's almost like immoral. You're doing a disservice to that family or that business owner by selling it.
Oh, yeah.
If you could put yourself in their shoes and be genuine and real and transparent about what you do, what you don't know, if you can be real about the objection, you're not selling anything. You're really just educating them and validating their concerns. And it's like, it's so fun, dude. I don't know. I get fired up. Like, it's freaking savage, and like I said, homeowners are going to purchase power either way. What's so cool about solar, especially all the crazy financing that's out there's a lot of incredible options, is whether you go solar or not, you're going to purchase power either way. And at the end of the day, lead generation is about educating. It's not selling. It's hey, Doug, how's it going? Hey, it's Anthony, whatever solar company I work for. I'm with Solar City. Oh, I'm not interested. Oh, I totally understand. We don't sell solar. We just charge for power at cheaper rates than utility. How high is your electric bill? Oh, I'm not interested. Oh no worries. I totally understand. With PG&E, there's 4 tiers. You're paying 22 to 40 cents a kilowatt. With SoCal Edison, with whatever it is, this is obviously a power purchase agreement I'm pitching. But whatever it is, whether you're on the phones, whether you're face-to-face, whether you're knocking doors, whatever your pitch is, a lot of incredible pitches. I've just found that if you've never had a solar quote before, which 9 times out of 10 is the case, how could you make an educated decision? It's like, basically I say something like, no, I totally understand you're not interested, Doug. Have you ever had a solar quote before? No. It's super simple. I'll be really quick. I know you're not interested. But all I do is I do about 15 to 20 consultations a week. I'll come out. I'll show you what you're currently spending on your bill, what your new bill would be, and answer all of your concerns. So that way you and your family could be in a position to make an educated decision. How's Saturday work at 2 o'clock, whatever. And you say, if you say no again, I'm not going to be pushy. I totally understand, and you can validate their concerns. You don't have to be fearful of them walking away. You take control and say, well, Doug, when you're ready to make an educated decision, I'd love to show you the numbers, what you're currently spending, what your new bill would be, go over the tax benefits, the incentives, and address all your concerns. Because every customer I've had the opportunity to talk with, I've been able to help educate them so they can make that educated decision. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, great. By the way, Doug, my name's Anthony. What was your name? What was your last name? Schwartz. Oh, great. What's the best phone number? Boom. Exchange information done.
Love it, man. You're massive.
There's a lot of ways you could do that. I'm kind of rambling. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here.
No, I love it. You're just in the trenches, man. We got to do another. We got to do another.
This is what we do. And I would argue if the top of the sales funnel is all that matters. The reason I say that, people are like, oh, we need the strategy down. We need this down. We need that down. Those are all excuses. At the end of the day, anyone can talk to customers. The question is, how many are you going to talk to? And the other question is, if your sales funnel is like this super wide, like this super narrow, it might even go like this where the top's really wide and then it's super small. High five, your activity level is really high. What's going to happen is as you fail and learn, it's still going to be really wide, but now that second layer is now going to be a lot wider.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third layer is going to go from really small to a lot wider. And then the fourth layer is going to be really small to wider. So it's all about improving your craft through failure. And it's all about having a good, positive attitude, being grateful. What allows me to keep going is I have a list of 15 things I'm grateful for taped on my mirror. So every morning when I get ready, I look at it, I read it, I get my mind right, and then I go to work.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to try that.
So that way, guess what? You said no, you hang up, you cuss at me, whatever you do, that's totally cool, man.
I love that.
I'm above it. It doesn't faze me. I'm confident. I know who I am. I know what I'm grateful for. Hey, Doug, have a good one, man. Whenever you're ready, get back to me. I'd love to talk.
So many gold nuggets.
Big deal.
All right.
I'm stoked. Life is good, man. Life is good. How can you beat someone who's like that, right? And you need a foundation. Because it's so mental, the importance of the mental side of this business, I don't think companies talk about this enough. They're so focused on strategies, all these things. Culture is a word that gets thrown around like a rag doll. It's like, oh, culture, it's like this fluffy, fairy dust. No, it's extremely important. You need a bigger vision. Solar City was legitimately a family. One team, one dream. That was our mission statement created. You know how powerful that is? We're all in this together. We're a unit. We have each other's backs. We protect one another. You go out there, you have a unit. It's like, how could you fail, Doug? You go out there, you fail. It's like, dude, you get back. It's like, we're going to pull each other up. We're going to help each other out. And it's all about building relationships and leading in love, not leading in fear. Like people that are negative, you can't have positive results with the negative mindset. Sounds so cliche, but I can't tell you how important this is. Like if you don't have a strong foundation, whatever you're building, it's going to crumble. It's not going to last. Yeah, there's my little rant. But
no, man, I love it. We're knocking on an hour here, so I'm gonna wrap it up soon. But we got to do a whole nother episode.
Yeah, edit this. So definitely do not post this. Like, edit it, take clips, right, and then.
No, totally. I mean, so much of it, but just wrap it up. Tell me.
I think if we do this more often, we'll get better at it.
No, there's so much gold in here though. But just tell me, just finishing how if guys want to learn more about your solar risk assessment program, how can they get started and learn more about that?
Well, it's for me, it's about building a relationship and understanding your business and what your biggest challenges are. It's not about insurance. It's about how can we get more sales? How can we eliminate roadblocks that are preventing your business from getting to the next level? It's about being a consultant for the business. Insurance is just a byproduct of what you're going to get. Whatever broker you go with, there's a lot of incredible providers out there. We work with all of them. It's apples for apples. It's not about getting the lowest quote. It's about having proper coverages. And whether you go with Gallagher or whoever, it's all about how well does your broker understand your business, because their ability to cover your risk and your exposures is purely based off their personal experience in the industry, their understanding of the industry, and the team that is going to support them in doing so. So for myself, I've been in solar for over 7 years. Lead generator, consultant, RSM, senior RSM, director of sales. Was the only consultant, lead generator, was the only lead generator at Solar City that started as a lead generator and worked my way up to a senior RSM. That was my greatest accomplishment. And so I have a genuine care for your business. I understand your struggles. And I'd just love to talk and see if there's any way we can add value, and if not, that's totally cool. But at least you'll leave with a couple ideas that could benefit your business and hopefully help you out. So it's not about me selling insurance. Insurance is just a byproduct of what you get. It's about risk management, and it's about making sure your business is in a position where you can dominate with recruiting, production, and training, and drive sales and take revenue to the next level. What's your bottom line? How can we impact your bottom line? How can we help? And our team here at Poms has over 30 years experience. We're going to look at all your claims and create a program that's going to position you in the best spot possible. But more importantly than that, it's about me building a relationship with you and me being the consultant and helping you through that process. So I'm just really blessed I have the experience I do. I'm blessed that I'm part of CALSA. And we're making waves. I mean, the Energy Risk Alliance is going to be the biggest energy provider of insurance and risk management in the industry. This is literally all I'm doing. So it's really exciting. I'd love to talk. And yeah, that's what we do. So cool.
Awesome, man. Well, a lot of good stuff to chew on there. I'm going to dive in on these notes here for my own sales training. That was good stuff. But thanks so much again for your time, Anthony. Hopefully
I appreciate it, Doug. Yeah, keep up the good work. And we'll do more of these in the future.
Sounds good, buddy. All right, I'll have a good rest of your week. I'll get you this content out here soon, and stoked again. Thanks a lot.